introduce the people, the great minds who are going to be the panel for today's discussion. He's an author, teacher, TV anchor, and independent producer of documentaries, columnist in English and Hindi newspapers, regular participant in radio and television panel discussions, over 50 books published on culture and religion, travel and cuisine, Indian foreign policy, international relations, served as jury in national and international film festivals. I'm a big fan of him, watching him since the Raja, Rasoi and Anya Kahaniya days. With a huge round of applause, let's call upon Padma Shri Dr. Pushpesh Pant on stage. He's going to be the moderator. I'll be introducing the panelists for today. So we have Mrs. Rohini Rana, fondly known as Dolly Rana. We all know her. Yes, born in Agra to Raja Sahib Digvijay Pal Singh and Rani Sahiba Anand Kumari of the erstwhile princely state of Avagar in Uttar Pradesh. She carries a legacy of grace and tradition. Her deep passion for cooking has beautifully culminated in 2 celebrity cookbooks. And then next we have the very well-known, very renowned chef Vicky Ratnani. Ek baar inke liye bhi zordar taaliyan. An explorer at heart and a true epicure of flavor. And then next we have Chef Suveer Saran. Ek baar inke liye bhi zordar taaliyan. Chef owner of Devi, the first non-Northern European restaurant in North America. Now we have very, very renowned and very known Chef Abhijit Saha, founding director and chef of Avant Great Hospitality with over 2 decades of culinary excellence. Chef Saha is celebrated for his mastery of both European and regional Indian cuisines and has also launched his first cookbook, Keparbar. Last but not the least, we have Rashmi Uday Singh. Inke liye bhi please zordar taaliyan. Fan favorite. Wow. An acclaimed food critic, author, and columnist whose illustrious career has redefined India's culinary landscape. With degrees in journalism, law, management, English literature, and gastronomy from Paris, she has authored over 40 books, including India's first restaurant guide and a vegetarian guide to Paris. Knighted by the French government as Chevalier des Arts et des Lettres, and winner of 6 World Government Awards. I'm so glad and so honored that such renowned people are sitting behind me, and they'll be taking this discussion forward. Of course, the moderator, Pushpesh, sir, I leave it to him. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, sir.
Well, I must say I'm very intimidated. I'm sitting with people. There are people I admire greatly, and there are people I respect. And the 2 categories are very fluid. I have here Rashmi ji. I met her long years ago. I shall not disclose. She is forever young. So I would say decades, quarter century, half a century, and so on. And our paths have crossed in between, very interestingly. She has been encouraging, she has been mentoring me, and she embarrasses me no end by calling me Guruji. So I think it's terrible. Better you don't hear. It's all in your praise. As long as the... हाँ
आपको पास लाके बोलना
जी मुझे अपने कान में अपनी इको बहुत आ रही है तो मैं घबरा रहा हूँ बहुत जब तक बाकी लोग सुन रहे हैं उनकी तारीफ में मैं कसीदे काट रहा हूँ तो कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है you know I was so touched. We were at a JLF and she had taken the trouble of getting a small matchbox printed with my photograph with chikki from Lonavala, and I could not eat the chikki. I'm preserving it with me for our museum piece. And she has put me in touch with great people interested in food, including Keval Ramani in Bangkok. And I think I meant it when I said that when she says Guruji, I get very embarrassed. There is Suveer, who's been so kind to me that when the first India cookbook was there, he volunteered to contribute recipes to that. I'm a great admirer of his work. Vicky again is fascinating. I mean, I think he's bubbling with the kind of passion about food. We were sitting and we started talking about Sindhi food, his restaurant, what could be done together. We have competition. We have competition now. Mr. Saha, again, is a very interesting writer who has written about the Cranberry cookbook and his story as a chef and an entrepreneur. Rohini ji is a fantastic author. She has written not one, not two, but three great books. The third book I have yet to see. But the cooking of Nepal and the palace cooking of the Ranas was brilliant, brilliantly brought out, brilliantly photographed. And she's the one who justified even the chocolate momo, which I thought it could only be done by her. कि बाकी आप ही की चीज़ है, आप ही ने बनाया, अब आप चॉकलेट डाल के खिलाइए, हम वो भी खाएंगे, बड़ी मज़े में खाएंगे. And she has just finished the third book, Memoirs on a Platter. Penguin is going to come out with. So I don't know where to begin with. I think, Rohini ji, if you could possibly tell us something about your trials and trumps, because the title is a bit odd. What trials you had writing these books, and what was the triumphs?
Hello, Gujarat. Hello, Ahmedabad. Thank you, Manish and Sonali, for having us on the stage again. I had a lovely experience last year, and I'm really happy to be back in this August gathering of celebrities, authors, brilliant chefs, and of course, Dr. Pushpesh ji, who is from the same place I am, Uttarakhand. Trials and triumphs faced by authors is such an interesting topic, because the trials are hard and difficult to bear. I think it's the, first of all, of having an idea to put down a book. And in our case, I think all of us, it's cookbooks and others, as Subir has written. But cookbooks are just not getting an idea in your brain and putting it down on paper. There's a lot of research and vigilant hard work, and that goes into it. You don't only ferret out recipes. In my case, I have written traditional as well as lost recipes for my Rana cookbook, and in my Nepal cookbook, 108 regional recipes of 10 ethnic communities. So there's a lot of hard work involved in researching, finding out who writes the best recipes, whose houses, whose homes have the best cuisine. Then the hardest work is trying to convince these lovely, usually older people to part with their secret recipes. They feel their, let's say, their fame of their cuisine and, you know, the lovely mystery that they have around their culinary, you know, dining tables will diminish if the recipes are parted. So that is a big, big challenge, you know, because they don't want to make those recipes common. They don't realize that if not documented, they will die a natural death. So that was one of the challenges, let's say, I faced, I managed to overcome. And it's the vigilant, the hard work, the discipline of sitting down every day, not only just writing, but practicing and getting the measurements right, because with the old recipes that were handed down to us were literally word of mouth. You know, a pinch of this, a handful of that. There's no proper documented measurements, all orally given. So you have a big job trying to, you know, replicate those practice. And then, of course, the photography, the background should match the recipes. Then I think another point is finding the right publisher. Once your work is complete, you know, you are feeling very happy about it, but you don't realize that then you get into this little bit of a syndrome. Will anyone like it? I've done it. I love it. Will the audience love it? And in my case, with the old heritage recipes, it has a very niche audience, niche palate and a niche audience. It's got nothing to do with fast food, modern foods done in a jiffy. It's labor intensive. We've, of course, tried to modernize. You know, the old recipes, we've tried to modernize, use modern techniques. No more firewood, everything's on gas. It's not hand pounding anymore. It's put into a blender and a mixie. But still, it is difficult to replicate. So it has a niche audience. And once you land up with a good publisher, and you're feeling really comfortable and nice and thinking, okay, my job is done, my book is printed, you don't realize that it's the beginning of your nightmare, because you know nothing about marketing. Authors don't usually know anything about marketing or trying to promote their books. You're so happy and content, my book is out in print, and that'll happen. It doesn't. Of course, the publisher does their little amount of work, but the promotion, the visual impact that is needed on social media these days is a totally different sort of challenge.
Thank you so much. Rashmi ji, can I come to you? You know, you have done 40 books and you have done them in so many different genres that it's difficult to say you are the trendsetter who started the city guides. You have been writing small pieces and columns, and you are the ultimate arbiter of taste. You are the judge, jury, and the executioner all rolled into one. So you decide.
Wow, thank you. Guruji, thank you very much.
No, but I really want to ask you, how do you sustain this? I'm no spring chicken myself, but I think that you sort of beat me hollow. You travel, you meet people, you inspire people, and you never give up. I mean, even if they falter. That is, I think, you know, besides writing, when you say trials and trumps, I said, you know, you share other people's trials and you rejoice in their triumphs, which is a very, very rare quality. So how do you manage to do this? The first time I met you, you were still in the IRS and working with Times of India or something. But then you have done so much after that. So I don't know.
So, is your question asking me why, even though I'm so Buddha, why I'm running around the world?
No, no. What I'm asking you is this as a writer of small pieces as column, writers with curatorial comments on the city guides, including a vegetarian guide for Paris, which is unimaginable sort of, and then doing like your Hope campaign, finding out small outlets which have been there for 100 years and not talked about, but they are heritage, and reviving them.
Okay, so let me tell you a quick thing. I believe in two dictums. One is what Gabbar Singh said, Jo dar gaya, samjho mar gaya. So I begin my journey with that. Okay, I'm not scared of nothing. And the other is that I think I'm related to Columbus somewhere along the way. I love exploring. So I wrote India's first ever city restaurant guide, which the proposal got rejected by 3 publishers. But like I believe in Gabbar Singh, so I didn't bother. I went right ahead. I wrote the world's first vegetarian guide to Paris. I was told it'll never happen, it'll be a tiny book. I just did it. Most of the time, all of the time, through all my 40 books, I've done them for myself. I don't care whether there's an audience or not. Hum khush ho gaye, bahut ho gaya. So basically, that's the thing. I just feel really happy, and in the doing is my happiness. And I feel very rewarded. And the same thing with my hospitality hope. The joy is in the doing, and in seeing the joy in their faces, like tomorrow when they come to get their awards, the 4 beautiful Chotu restaurants we went to. And it's just that. It's just the joy which happens in the doing. I don't have to wait for anybody else to reward me or do anything. And basically that's it. And Guruji, I still have a lot to learn from you. I actually, you know, guys, I actually changed my flight in San Sebastian in the Basque region so I could sit next to him and take notes. He is a true treasure house. I mean, he's amazing, really. Pranam. Thank you. A big hand for our Guruji.
Come on, come on. She is a great one for pulling legs as well, so we know that. I'll give my neck a rest and turn towards Vicky now, because otherwise I'll get a crick. Vicky, again, you have done a Vicky Goes Veg cookbook.
Vindesi.
Yes, and two books. And also, both books are so different. One is a modern take on whatever you are doing. The other one is very, very sensible, but again, not veg. Sattvic khana ho zaruri, ek tarah ka nahi hai. But what I'm very impressed is that she said something about joy of doing. And you seem to be bubbling with the joy of doing. So what gives you more joy, a sense of triumph or trumps, call it whatever you may, when you concoct a menu or a new dish or launch a new restaurant, or working in your lab kitchen, which I know about, which is not a closely guarded secret, or writing a book? I mean, how do they all fuse into?
See, as Rashmi said exactly, is about your self-happiness. So I think as a chef or a cook, as a person, I have always had and will always have regards for authors who write, who pen anything down. Okay? Our education comes through books. We study, we read, we move up. And as you graduate academically, you grow as a person. So coming back to the thing is that for me to get an opportunity and someone to approach me to say that, you know what, Vicky Goes Veg is such a good show. Why don't you capture it and put it into a book where you choose your best recipes and take it from there. So literally, for me, I took that so seriously. I actually turned vegetarian when I was writing the show. Because if you see any of the recipes, they are very original. So I had to literally, someone saying, is it method acting? I said, well, it's not method acting, you can call it, but the thing is that coming from a culinary perspective, working most of my career abroad, where meat is all the time. So you're thinking in that flow. So it was for me very hard to start thinking creatively, because anytime I thought of a dish, a piece of chicken would come in my head, or a piece of duck, or a leg of lamb, or whatever you want to call it. So I literally turned vegetarian to actually write these recipes, which became a show. While I was filming for the show, I honestly became a vegetarian for those 3 weeks. Because here you're talking about the whole merits of being vegetarian and how it is good for you. But then you can't go back and eat a chicken wing, can't you? So I took this very seriously. Now, the whole feeling and accomplishment of writing that book, and even till today, the show is on YouTube maybe. The channel is not even there. But the book is still there. It's on people's shelves. It's on my shelf. So every time I look back, there is something that there is a record of some kind of work. Whether it sells 1 million copies, it's a bestseller, well, I mean, that's for people to decide. But for me, from my side, it was pure joy and honesty and excitement that, wow, this chef is going to be called an author as well. So I think that was the whole triumph. Let's not talk about how many. The Vicky Goes Veg did very well. It went to the Gourmand Awards. It came second. I was very happy. And it did very well. Unfortunately, the channel collapsed. So it was a 3-party agreement. So it didn't work out. But I still have that book. People still love it. A lot of people around the world bought that book. It was on Amazon. Then the next was Urban Desi, because I wanted something that, okay, life has moved on. You travel the world, now you've come back. I'd moved back to India. I was starting to cook regional food, learning more about Indian cuisine. And that's the whole culmination of Urban Desi.
Interesting, because what Vicky says, Suvir, I would like to come back to you. He talked of a book, and he talked of a shelf life of a book. But I've been fascinated by the small pieces you do, which are much more ephemeral. You have done a book, of course, but the Indian Express pieces. And most of us are supposed to talk about food and food writing and so on. And what you do there is fantastic, because you have I can't resist going to that column the first day when I see it. There is a small pastel sketch, there is your face, and you talk about so many other things than pure food, just eating food. He said you travel the world, you come back. And that is exactly what you have done. You have been to New York, you have been a Michelin-starred chef, and you come back. And you open yourself, no defenses, no artifices. You talk about your coming out, you talk about your relationship with your parents. You talk about a climate that was surrounding you before you left India. You come back and you are addressing in India, which is a different climate. You are writing for an audience which may not have shared your cosmopolitanism, gone to America and come back, but you make it flow so effortlessly. So what I wanted to ask you is this, that he said something about the book and the shelf life. And both of us, and she and have been focusing on the books, but I think what you do has as good a shelf life as a book because a line comes to haunt you. Between the lines, there is something which sticks in your mind. ये खाने की बात कर रहा था कि मूवी की बात कर रहा था कि घर के रिश्तों की बात कर रहा था कि क्या हो रहा था? And you are talking to a different generation, a different audience, a different continent. How does that become challenging? And you have to churn out a column.
So I wrote Indian Home Cooking when I was 30-year-old. We've sold 250,000 copies and counting. My second book was his book, Urban Desi, American Masala, an Indian boy cooking food of the world. Third book was Masala Farm, My Life at the Farm. But Pushpesh, when I was 45-year-old, I had several falls that made me go blind for 18 months. I lost memory for around 21 months. And I came to India to die in hospice care. And I lived to tell the tale. So 8 years later, I'm living. So the column I write, I've seen how transient life is. When I've seen that, मेरे को नंगा करने में अपने आप को कुछ नहीं चाहता. Because Shashi Tharoor wrote in one of my columns, he wrote, one man strips himself naked every week for the benefit of all humanity. Because I air my dirty laundry, I wash it in public. I'm doing it because I have nothing to fear. And I think food for thought is food for the soul. And when you can cook up a good story to feed somebody inspiration, they'll go and cook in the kitchen food that's made with real ingredients. And my books and his books and his books, her 40 books, Dolly's 3 books have changed my life. I had a Nepalese lover who is very famous and I've told her who he is. That person's home fed me Nepalese food, but she taught me about the history of Nepal that I knew nothing about the many cuisines in Nepal. She writes pages and pages on it. So cookbook is not just when Indian Home Cooking came out, I had head notes and I had footnotes and I had introduction chapters. I had to write about a country, not like Tarla Dalal and Madhur Jaffrey were writing a recipe. I cooked only because Madhur Jaffrey failed me. Her photograph didn't match the recipe I cooked. Tarla Dalal's food was awful. It didn't taste like anything I'd eaten in any food. I had to write a cookbook by calling somebody in India every day, pay $700 a month in my student salary. I worked 2 jobs and went to school full time and called Panditji, a Brahmin chef, every day to get recipes. I would then cook them, document them, give them to 5 people to cook. If their recipe matched mine and matched the photograph that I had in my head, then that recipe would go to a book. So I think life is all about being authentic to yourself, whether it's a dish or your character. And I have to see the mirror for who I am. तो कहते हैं अब ये सुबह की सफ़ेदियाँ, ये दोपहर की सर्दियाँ, मैं आईने में देखता हूँ मैं कहाँ चला गया. So I have to answer to myself at the end. And so I write my column and my books and my mental pieces with that. I have to be honest to myself.
No, I think this is what the SAG Food for Thought Festival is all about. It goes beyond food, stays centered on food, and multi-layered food for thought, food for soul, and so on. Sahasab, if I come to you now, your book is a very different book. It is a book partly about the menu of your restaurant. It also is about your entrepreneurial journey. So how do you combine the two?
Okay. Good evening, everybody. And it's indeed a privilege to be here with such stalwarts. Very humbled. And thank you, Manish and Sonali, for inviting me here. And just to give you a little bit of a background before I talk about the book. So Manish is my classmate from college. And Sonali and me, we worked together briefly in Delhi. So that's my connection with the Bahetis. Yeah. So now I have been a chef for 36 years.
You're a Nepo chef. You're a Nepo chef.
Yes. So out of that, 18 has been purely as a chef and 18 has been chef entrepreneur. So I divide my time equally between being a restaurateur, a consultant, and a chef. So people ask me that after 36 years, even today, that what is your single biggest achievement in your career? Yeah, you have many achievements in other things, but what is your single biggest achievement in your career? I said that having written that one book, which took me 4.5 years to write. So, so it was some effort and it took a lot from my side. You know, I am not someone who can write books like you, sir, or or Rashmi, or people who have written multiple books. I have written just one book, and I do consider it to be a very part of myself, and it's an expression which is from the heart. And I do believe that I wrote it with the idea that, what has been my journey with food, my tryst with food, my journey as a chef, and how it was to set up a modern Spanish restaurant in India where nobody knew anything about those aspects of cooking. So having established myself as an Italian chef while working for the Park Hotels, as well as a regional Indian chef, having worked with Saffron at the Park in Calcutta. So I knew myself to be a chef who could do multiple things. But when I decided to start my own restaurant, the first one had to be different from something that I had not done before as a chef. So 1.5 years was the learning experience before I set up the restaurant. And so I thought that if I have spent 1.5 years in setting up a restaurant, nowadays I take 3 to 6 months in setting up a restaurant. So I thought that it should be documented somewhere, that what was my learning, what was my, understanding of the ingredients, the culture. I visited Spain several times during that time. And it was a story which also involves the guests who came. And their perspectives are also a part of the book. So that was very critical. We have 20 people, guests who were very regular to my restaurant, who have written in the book about their experience of coming to Caperberry, as to how different it was and how exciting it was. And I'm really happy that I decided to write that book. And that book is probably now taught in most colleges, hotel management schools in India. And I don't think so that people still understood, that is something that is passed by India. Molecular gastronomy is not about gimmicks. It's not about, the flames or the smoke that you see. It's about understanding food in a molecular level and understanding how you can improve flavor or impart flavor or create flavors that, excites all your senses. So that is what was Caperberry all about. And the book is, of course, a labor of love, and I shall always be proud of it.
Excellent. I think we have probably to conclude with this. इसके बाद तो आप cooking कर रहे हो ना?
इसके बाद
हाँ.
chef is cooking.
Lovely. So what I will do is that I'd like to have one last question to you, Chef, which ties it up with what Rohini ji said in the beginning.
Yes.
She said कि हमारे खाने में रेसिपी में अंदाज बहुत था, documentation कुछ नहीं था. When you do a restaurant and try to do something, you do a recipe for success of a restaurant. You systematically research it. You try to get it right. Now, where does the element of improvisation come, and how does the recipe of a dish make a difference when you improvise and you say कि अब ये काम तो हम अपने मन से करेंगे. This is no hard and fast rule to realize this.
Yes. I do believe that, chefs must take creative liberties. While authenticity is very, very critical, we must understand an authentic dish. What are the ethos? What are the basis? What is the reason why it has become a traditional dish and has been served and, has excited so many people for so many years? But as chefs, if we present the same thing all the time, it is not what we are doing justice to. Because people are supposed to enjoy the traditional food more so in their homes and also by cooking with their mothers and everybody. But as a chef, I think I have always been taken that liberty of being a little here, little there, trying to learn from different aspects and cook. So my dish, which we will be presenting, is also a combination of two dishes which I have taken from the same region of the world, but is also different from each other, but they come together in a very good way.
Thank you very much. I think I must thank all the panelists. Thank you, Manish Bhai, and thank you, Sonali ji. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Now I would like to call upon stage the founder, director of SAG and Food for Thought Fest, Mr. Manish Baheti, to give a culinary token of gratitude to all our speakers. A round of applause, everybody, come on.